with teammate George Russell falling out on the final lap at Marina Bay last weekend. Trailing teammate Hamilton took the final podium slot thanks to the duo's aggressive late swap to medium tyres in an attempt to fight for victory. Lewis Hamilton gave Mercedes a well-deserved podium finish in Singapore, but when Hamilton stood on the podium with race winner Carlos Sainz and runner-up Lando Norris, the TV cameras focused on the Ferrari and McLaren crews, but not on Mercedes. Social media clips have also emerged showing photos of 7-time world champion Hamilton being met by rival technicians rather than his own squad after the race. And we could even see Hamilton sitting alone by Sainz's car waiting for his interview. So, just after the race ended, social media was buzzing with rumors of the Mercedes crew refusing to join Lewis Hamilton for his podium celebration. Are these the first signs of the end between Mercedes and Hamilton? Did he make a huge mistake by penning a new contract recently? This is the second time supporters have complained about Hamilton's lack of teammates in attendance to celebrate his victory. After Australia, the 7-time world champion was seen inquiring about his colleagues, which infuriated his supporters for the first time. And the second time was too much for the Mercedes fanbase. This time, they made sure that Mercedes knew that they won't accept this behavior in the future, and should put more respect on their record-breaking driver. So this time, the fans took their rage to social media and criticized the Mercedes F1 crew for failing to attend the Singapore Grand Prix celebrations, despite Lewis Hamilton finishing third on the podium. Here are some of the most shared and viral comments fans posted on X. You decide if you think it was fair or not for the fans to lash out at the team. Very sad to see no Mercedes engineers out there celebrating the podium with Lewis. Do you only support him when he's winning? Never forget, this man made you. He should have left and joined Ferrari. Merc don't deserve his loyalty. Mercedes not showing up to celebrate with Lewis Hamilton winning a podium is a clown fest. This photo is just disheartening. While I understand that the crash by George Russell was devastating for Mercedes, and that Russell is their bet for the future, they should have been there with Lewis Hamilton for his podium. Lewis had their back 10 years. I'm beyond upset with your treatment of SLH, that's Sir Lewis Hamilton. How could you treat him so bad? What happened to SLH celebrations? Where was the team? I've had enough of Russell. You allow it and encourage it. I am a Mercedes fan, buy lots of merchandise. Now we're scared of wearing it because of this. I thought he looked so down. An opportunity lost, I think, as he could have won this race, and disappointment no one at Mercedes seems to care about him anymore. He should have signed a contract elsewhere. It's clear his current team isn't focused on him anymore. What are your thoughts? Are these comments too harsh, or are they justified? And what is your take on the whole situation? Do you think it was disrespectful for Mercedes to not show up for the celebrations? Or do we just not know the whole story? That's what Mercedes is trying to tell us, as Mercedes stated that as many of the team as it was practical made it down to the podium ceremony for Hamilton, but the storyline of Ferrari stopping Red Bull's flawless victory run in 2023 meant that directors were concentrating the TV feed elsewhere. This resulted in us seeing Lewis Hamilton applauded by Ferrari and McLaren team members, who were on hand to assist Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris, and let us believe that the Mercedes crew looked to be absent from the festivities. But in the end, it appeared to be a case of wrong camera angles, as the Mercedes crew was indeed there to celebrate Hamilton's podium. But to clear the air, and regardless of what the camera revealed, Mercedes technical director James Allison has stated that the crew went to encourage their driver. At least, that's what Allison had to say when asked about the lack of support for Hamilton during the podium celebrations. I am going to have to disagree a little bit with the premise of the question. Of course, the team was there at the podium to celebrate with Lewis, Mercedes technical director James Allison said. As many of the team as it was practical to get to the podium were there because we enjoy it. We love standing there and clapping and cheering for our driver. Allison went on to say that some employees had to stay behind to recover Russell's crashed W14. Otherwise, the Mercedes team would have been there, but would have been missed among a very significant number of other teams' representatives. Necessarily, a certain amount of the team had to stay in the garage during that event because we needed to retrieve George Russell's car back from the marshals who were bringing it into the pit lane. But the rest of the team were all down at the podium and cheering along with everyone else, but the cameras do not show everything. And the big story there was of course the first win this year for a non-Red Bull team. So showing all of the overjoyed Ferrari faces were very high up the list of things that made for good TV, and indeed the pleasure from the McLaren folk as well. There was a very significant number of all teams down there at the podium ceremony. We were a big part of it, but not maybe where the camera lighted during the podium celebrations. Nonetheless, Hamilton had excellent assistance from his squad throughout the race, and the rapid creative thinking during the virtual safety car assisted them in claiming the podium. However, if Russell hadn't crashed, they had obviously scored more points. Allison said of the other Mercedes driver, Russell, that he was inconsolable after his late collision. I'm sure none of you will be surprised to know that he was completely devastated, he said. Probably, it is very easy for us to underestimate just how much these drivers put into their driving and how much it matters to them. We all know it is important, but the degree to which it dominates all their decisions is something that is easy for us to underestimate. And George was absolutely inconsolable in the immediate aftermath of the race. However, it is a testament to his character, to the strength of his character, that instead of crawling into a little hole and suffering in silence, notwithstanding the fact that he was that upset, he came out, he spoke to every single person on the team at the track, apologized to them in person for his mistake, and owned it properly. But before George parked his W14 in the wall, it became painfully clear that Lewis was still the top driver when the pressure is there. Lewis was clearly faster than George in their closing stint, and was able to close the gap pretty quickly. This resulted in another problem for Mercedes. Do we let them fight, or should we intervene? In the end, they did neither and left Hamilton stuck behind Russell, whilst he was trying to overtake Norris without success. As we've heard earlier in this video, there was one fan that had it quite right when it came to Lewis's race. I thought he looked so down. An opportunity lost, I think, as he could have won this race. And disappointment no one at Mercedes seems to care about him anymore. This pretty much sums up what happened, right? Should Mercedes have intervened and let Hamilton have a go at Norris? Or was it right to let them stay in position on merit? What do you think? Hamilton thinks he could have taken the win and would have liked to have seen another strategy deployed so the two Mercedes wouldn't have to race each other. As in the closing moments of the Singapore Grand Prix, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton were still fighting for victory. But after a thrilling duel, Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris managed to keep the Mercedes drivers behind. Hamilton later explained what he would have done differently if he had been in his team's shoes. In retrospect, Hamilton believes switching to mediums during the virtual safety car was a wise decision. We needed to take the risk, have a shot at trying to get past some of these guys and go for the win. I think we had a really good race. I think the team did a great job, he said after the Formula 1 race at the Marina Bay circuit. However, the 38-year-old Brit believes he would have made a different decision if he had been in second position at the time, as Russell was. If I was in his position, I probably would have stayed out and at least kept McLaren behind, Hamilton states. Furthermore, the Mercedes driver feels he outperformed his younger colleague throughout the race. Based on our times, I think I was about half a second a lap up, and it's so difficult to overtake here, Hamilton added. You need like a second-and-a-half deficit to the car ahead. And what was really surprising is that the hard hadn't dropped off as much as we thought, but also our tyres dropped off a lot in trying to catch up with the huge gap that we were behind. What do you think? Could Hamilton have challenged Norris and Sainz up front if he had been given the green light to overtake Russell? And what about the celebrations drama? Do you believe Mercedes' apology for it? And should Hamilton just suck it up and focus on the next race? Or did this really break down the relation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Next up, we've got the Japanese Grand Prix, and will we see another Mercedes on the podium here? Let us know your predictions for this weekend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.